It's my birthday month, and I'm actually going to do something a little bit different with this video. This basically is going to be a little bit more casual. It's basically just going to be story time. Treat this as you would a podcast. Listen to it as you clean or whatever. This is going to be a bit more laid back and casual. Since I'm going to be talking about, some of my just favorite movie theater stories. Some good, some not so good, and just kind of why they're memorable. So I guess it makes sense to start from the beginning, even though I don't actually remember this story because I was like one. But to hear my parents tell it, the first movie that my parents took me to go see was 1998's The Mask of Zorro. And the opening scene of that movie is very exciting. And apparently something in little baby me, I was around 1 year old at the time, just loved it. Apparently I clapped, I cheered, and then I was quiet. I watched the rest of the movie. The first kids movie that my parents took me to, though, was Elmo and Grouchland. I don't have a story behind that one. I don't remember it. But I do remember renting it a few times on VHS from Hollywood Video. Let's skip ahead a few years to 2003 for Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. I had watched Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers a few times, and this was the first time I remember being really excited for a movie, like hyping it up, waiting for it, getting very excited every time there was a trailer on TV for it. So on Christmas Day 2003, my family and I saw Return of the King, and I loved it. Skipping ahead 1 year to 2004, The Incredibles, and simply because this was the first time I saw the trailer for Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I've been asking basically since Attack of the Clones had come out, so about 3 years straight, when Episode 3 was coming out. Finally, I had my answer, and I had the title, and of course, in 2005, we have Revenge of the Sith. This was the first Star Wars movie I saw in the theater, and it was actually the first time I'd heard an audience applaud at the end. President's Day 2006, the first time a movie is sold out. So it's President's Day, we think nothing of it. It's like, yeah, we get the day off from school, it's President's Day. We forget that it's actually a huge holiday, especially where we lived at the time. So we go to the Dollar Theater to see Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which I've been eagerly anticipating. I've anticipated for this movie to come to the Dollar Theater, and it's sold out. Because we forgot it was President's Day, we forgot it was a big holiday, we didn't really resonate, we never put two together, like, oh yeah, that's why we got the day off from school. It's going to be crowded because everyone's going to see movies today. But we went back the next day, it was less crowded, and I finally got to see it. But that was the first time I'd had a concept of the movie being sold out. 2007, this is a really cool one. My dad had a coworker where he worked at the time who either he knew somebody or he was related to somebody or I don't know what, but somehow they had connections to Warner Brothers. So every once in a while, he'd managed to get Warner Brothers to give his coworkers pre-screenings. So he got, these coworkers they worked with a pre-screening for Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And my dad wasn't really all that into Harry Potter, but he knew my mom and I loved it, so he gave us his passes. And so I got to see the movie the day before everyone else. And this is significant because this was back when they still did midnight showings instead of 7 p.m. Thursday. But this was not showing at midnight. This was showing, at a little bit more of a decent hour, but it was still technically the day before. It was like 6 or 7 or something, somewhere out there on that Thursday. So the fact that we were able to see a Harry Potter movie Thursday before it comes out, before that midnight premiere, before everybody else, was awesome. It was a private screening. Only these very, select group of people were allowed in, and we were part of that group. And what's also cool is that my cousin, he at the time was actually starting up a limo service, and he wanted to get his name out there, so we actually got to go to the theater in his limo. Like, he drove us to the theater in his limo, so that was really cool. It was the first time I got to ride in a limo. Also for 2007, Spider-Man 3. This is not a good story. This was actually the first time I left the theater disappointed. I loved the first 2 Spider-Man movies, and even at 9 years old, I knew this movie was crap. Left theater going, oh, what? I was talking about, it really kind of sucked. But the weird thing was, I was talking to my friends at school at the time when this movie came out, and they all loved it. They were like, no, Spider-Man 3 was awesome. What are you talking about? It was like the best movie ever. I was like, really? What did you guys say? It was terrible. So I felt kind of off at this movie that everyone thinks is crap, and I was the only one I knew of that didn't like it. All right, skipping ahead a few years to 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Obviously, like I said, with Order of the Phoenix, my mom and I had seen every Harry Potter movie in the theater together, and it wasn't until the epilogue scene where Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all grown up that it finally hit me. This is the last Harry Potter movie. You'll never get to do this again. So I kind of turned up a little bit there, but regardless, still a great send-off. 2012, The Hunger Games. And this one sticks out because, I'd seen a few of my friends when the books were coming out. I'd seen them post on Facebook about how much they loved this book series called The Hunger Games, which I hadn't read, I hadn't heard of it. And then I saw on some magazine somewhere that, hey, they're making this book series, The Hunger Games, into a movie. So I was like, oh, they're doing this as a movie. I should probably start reading these books. So I checked them out. I loved them. And I was telling my dad about them. I was like, yeah, these books are awesome. We got to read them. They're so good. And the Friday the movie came out. So this is not the Thursday night, but it was like the Friday after. So like the day it came out, like that Friday. This was like Friday around, 4-ish, 5-ish. He picks me up after school. And he told me, we're going straight to the theater to see it. Just pick me up and he goes, hey, Josh, we got to get in the car. We're going to go see The Hunger Games. I was like, oh, yes. That's because I had no idea that he wanted to see this movie. I thought, okay, if I see this movie, I'm going to have to wait a little bit. But I got to see it the day it came out. I got to see it like the Friday afternoon because I had no idea he had any interest in it. So that really surprised me. Also from 2012, The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, because this was the first time that I got to go to a movie without an adult. I met up with two of my friends from church. We saw it. We loved it because I was like, 14 at the time. It's like, okay, you can have a little bit more independence. So I met up with two of my friends from church who were around the same age. We went to go see The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey because it had come out like the week before or something. And it was awesome. We loved it. 2013, Iron Man 3. So this is when they first started doing 7 p.m. Thursday instead of midnight. So this, aside from Order of the Phoenix, was technically my first big premiere. Because the Order of the Phoenix one, that was a private event. But this was the big public one. This is the one that anyone could go to. So I got to see this Marvel movie in a crowd on the night it came out. And that day also happened to be my mom's birthday. So backtracking a little bit to 2013 also, just a couple of months before that was Oz the Great and Powerful. And this was technically the first time I went to a movie in costume. Which I know it's odd that it was this movie. Like, this is the movie that I went to in costume. But my sister had started getting into Broadway at the time, and she loved the musical Wicked. And she actually had a costume of the witch from Wicked. She had gotten it like the Halloween before or something like that. So I went as Oz, she went as the witch. We went to this movie in costume. It was great. Also in 2013, Day of the Doctor. Now I just first started getting into Doctor Who. I wasn't, a huge fan. I had just barely started watching the show. And I saw that it was coming out on a birthday. Because they actually showed this episode's 50th anniversary special in certain theaters through Fathom events. And it just happened to be on my birthday that year, and I had already seen Mockingjay or whatever the Hunger Games movie that year was, or Catching Fire, which was the Hunger Games movie that year, and I was like, well, there aren't really any other movies coming out. I've seen all the other ones that have come out this month. Might as well go see this movie. It was awesome to see this crowd, this big energy with this Doctor Who special that was technically a movie, but also sort of not a movie. And also, in December of that year, I got to see 3 movies on the same day, 47 Ronin, Saving Mr. Banks, and The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug. And this was the day after Christmas. I had gotten Costco passes for Christmas for, one of the theater chains here. And I decided, hey, I just started up this movie review blog like 5 months ago. So I got to see these last few movies that are coming out so I can do my top 10 for the year. So I called them to the theater and I have them tell me when the movies end so I can just see them as quickly as possible. I was like, all right, whatever movie starts first, that's what I'm going to go see. The earliest showing of the day for the movies that I wanted to see was 47 Ronin at like 10 o'clock in the morning or something. I was like, all right, so if I go to the 10 o'clock for 47 Ronin, what time does that one end? They're like, that ends at 12:30 or something. I was like, all right, the next one, okay, Saving Mr. Banks and The Hobbit. The next one starts earlier, Saving Mr. Banks. Okay, so like 1:15 for the Saving Mr. Banks. When does that one end? And they're like, ends at this time. It's like, all right, the next one would be The Hobbit. The Hobbit would start at this time. So basically, so I could just go one right after the other, get all the tickets at once, get them right after the other. And I got to see The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug that night. Got to do this big movie theater marathon, which is the first time I'd ever done something like that. It was awesome. 2014, Godzilla. Again, this is one of those times where I'd started to go by myself. The energy that day was awesome. I knew of Godzilla, but I wasn't a huge fan. But I saw this movie with a large crowd, and it was great. And also in December 2014, I did a repeat of my Christmas movie marathon, this time with The Hobbit: Battle of the Five Armies, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb, The Imitation Game, and Into the Woods. And I know it's kind of weird that The Imitation Game is on that list. Like, why would I want to go see The Imitation Game at, 16 or 17 years old? And that was because, I had started watching Sherlock and stuff like that, so I really started to get a sense of, like, who Benedict Cumberbatch was. I was like, yeah, I kind of like this Benedict Cumberbatch guy. And I wonder if he's going to be in anything big. And, of course, now he's Doctor Strange. So that was kind of cool. I got to see kind of a smaller movie that was made just for Oscar season, but I actually quite enjoyed Imitation Game. I thought it was really good. 2015, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, because I had actually gotten to visit the set like a year before through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and you can see the full story for that. If you search it up, it's one of the videos on my channel here. Basically, I had to shut up about the movie. I couldn't say anything. Now, I didn't know what the plot or anything was in this movie. I knew about as much as everyone else did, but I got to see the inside of the Millennium Falcon. I got to take a picture of the Millennium Falcon. I got to meet Harrison Ford. I got to meet John Boyega. I got to take a picture with Chewbacca. I got to meet J.J. Abrams. All this cool stuff. I got to see some of the inside of Maz Kanata's castle. I got to see some of the droids and some of the creatures that were in the movie. But, I had a very vague idea of what this movie was about, kind of just out of context stuff that I wasn't allowed to say anything about. And I actually got to see a scene being filmed. That scene actually ended up being deleted. But it's on Disney+. If you go to the extras section, I'll see if I can play just a little snippet of here. Not the whole scene, but just kind of some of the scenes. You can see what I was being filmed. But the fact that we got to see this, and I was just like, I get to finally, see all these plot secrets that I didn't get to say anything about. The fact that it was the first Star Wars movie in a long time in theaters, and it was like the 7 p.m. premiere, so there was a very big energy, but it was extra special for me. Also in 2015, I forgot to say this, was Jurassic World, and the reason for that is because when I saw this movie, it was at this brand new theater, which is the same theater that I saw Force Awakens at, but it was a brand new, at the time, theater, and the first couple weeks it was open, they were still kind of doing construction on some other stuff, including this massive, massive screen that's basically this theater's equivalent of an IMAX, and the first movie that they premiered on that screen was Jurassic World. And so I was among the first people at the very first showing on this massive, massive screen for Jurassic World. And then the other really cool one from 2015 was when the Gallows opened, because it was filmed locally. I know the directors. One of the directors goes to my church. I see him almost every week. And this was their first movie that they had completed and that it was screening and had been distributed by Warner Brothers and everything. And so they were holding some of the first showings where it was filmed, in the area where it was filmed. And so they did a Q&A and everything. So that was really awesome that I got to be among the first to see that movie there too. 2016, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, because this was the first big Batman movie that I got to see in theaters. And this is the first time there was a big crowd. And then also Captain America Civil War, because I dressed as Captain America. That was the first time I went to a Marvel movie in costume. 2017, this was one of the experiences where I had to go back a different day, because I went to go see the live-action Beauty and the Beast. Just kind of on a whim, because it had something to do with scheduling of a doctor's appointment or something. I forget exactly what the circumstances were, but basically it was it had something to do with my parents' work schedule mixed with the doctor's appointment. And it was just more convenient if, they just, because I was done with high school, so I was kind of in college. I just kind of had my own schedule. So it was you don't have class today, so let's just drop you off at a movie. And I got to go see Beauty and the Beast. And it's during the Be Our Guest part, and the movie breaks. Which is weird because, projectors don't use so anymore, but it's the projector just shuts off. But the sound is still going. So we're all just sitting in the dark for the next 5 or 10 minutes. And they finally get the movie going up again, and they rewind it, and they play it for 30 more seconds, and then the same thing happens, it dies. It's just the projector is dead. It isn't coming on. That thing is dead. So they're all right, sorry, folks. Here's passes. So I had to call my parents and be yeah, so the movie broke. You got to come pick me up. So I had to do everything, but that was the one. Also, in 2017, The Last Jedi, just because, again, a lot of energy, big Star Wars movie. Those are always fun. 2019, Avengers End Game, for obvious reasons. Big energy movie. Everyone loved it. First time it was a really, really big crowd since Force Awakens. And also, this one's kind of cool, it was Aladdin. I actually got to see Aladdin 3 days before everyone else. And the reason for that is just basically, we live in an area that's very diverse. We got everybody here. We got all races and nationalities, all walks of life. So we're often used as a test market for a lot of new products. So, the Doritos tacos from Taco Bell, when those first started out, that was a very limited market, but we were one of the few markets to get that. That was a success. So now they rolled them out nationwide. On the opposite end of that spectrum, McDonald's had these things called shake-em-up fries a few years ago, where they basically would give you a seasoning packet, you put it in the bag, you put your fries in the bag, and then you shake it. And those things were just nasty, they just weren't good. They clearly weren't popular enough because they didn't roll those out nationwide. They pretty much were dead on arrival here. So I should give you an idea of we're often a test market. And so Disney, for some reason, chose this theater about 3 days before it was supposed to come out to go see Aladdin. I got invited to it, so I got to go see it. That was the first time I got to see, in this screening for everyone else. So I got to see the movie 3 days early, which was awesome. And then Spider-Man Far From Home, simply because that was the last movie I saw in theaters before leaving formation for 2 years. And one more recently was just a couple of months ago when I went to go see Free Guy, mostly because of how bizarre this one was. So the way I do it is, if it's a big movie like Star Wars or just a big franchise movie, then I go to the theater that's, not super far away, but it's not a convenient commute. But it's a very nice theater. It's an awesome theater. If it's a smaller movie, then I go to the theater that is a more convenient commute. Like, it's literally half an hour away. I can just walk down there. And that's what I do for the smaller movies that aren't, big franchise movies. I go to, the Friday morning matinees. So I went to go see Free Guy. This was, the Friday morning it came out. And so I walk in, movie starts, the trailer started. One of them is for the 2021 Suicide Squad movie, which is weird because totally different audience, because the Suicide Squad is this very violent, raunchy, R-rated film, and then Free Guy is PG-13, so that's kind of a weird placement in and of itself. The fact that it came out, a week before Free Guy did. It came out, the week before, which was weird. And then they show a trailer for some other movie where I was just like, these are some really bizarre trailer placements. I wonder if they started the wrong movie. And then one of the trailers is a trailer for Free Guy, which is the movie we're literally about to watch. So at this point, I'm like, either I'm in the wrong theater or they started the wrong movie. So I get up, I go outside, I look at my ticket stub, look at the theater, and I'm like, no, I'm in the right theater. So they may have started the wrong movie, but I'll wait and see. So I sit back down, wait for the Free Guy trailer to finish, and then the movie starts and it's Free Guy. So they started the right movie, but for some reason the trailer placements, that was just very odd. Those were the more bizarre experiences I've had in a movie theater. So those are some of my stories. Be sure to share yours in the comments.